A compromise is a way of settling differences by everybody making concessions. If you want to stay out until 10 and your friend wants to stay out until midnight, 11 is a good compromise. Compromise comes from the Latin compromissum, which means mutual promise. A compromise is never as good as a consensus, but it is generally better than nothing, and often achievable when a consensus is not. And when it is, trying to make it as good as possible in each of the three ways described is always worthwhile. Legislation, the preparing and enacting of laws by local, state, or national legislatures. In other contexts, it is sometimes used to apply to municipal ordinances and to the rules and regulations of administrative agencies passed in the exercise of delegated legislative functions. The exercise of the power and function of making rules, such as laws, that have the force of authority by virtue of their promulgation by an official organ of a state or other organization. The major function of Congress is legislation. W.S. Sayer. Courts are an established part of the judicial system, with their powers stemming directly from the government. Tribunals are specialized bodies established by law, with specific judicial powers. A court's rulings can include judgments, decrees, convictions, or acquittals. Tribunals primarily issue awards. A statutory tribunal is a quasi-judicial body, which unlike a court of law, is an administrative institution with the power to decide cases on defined subject matter. Statutory tribunals' powers are limited to their statutory jurisdiction and are not a constitutional court of general jurisdiction. A schedule or a timetable, as a basic time management tool, consists of a list of times at which possible tasks, events, or actions are intended to take place, or of a sequence of events in the chronological order in which such things are intended to take place. Scheduling is the process of arranging, controlling and optimizing work and workloads in a production process or manufacturing process. Scheduling is used to allocate plant and machinery resources, plan human resources, plan production processes and purchase materials. Schedule time refers to the time on a schedule that is given to an activity or task. It is important to use schedule time wisely so that tasks can be completed efficiently and on time. There are a few ways to make the most of schedule time. One way to make the most of schedule time is to plan ahead. Although it hails from a remote region of the western Himalayas, this plant now looks entirely at home on the banks of English rivers, and colonized riverbanks and damp woodlands. In the Himalayas the plant is held in check by various pests, but take these away and it grows and reproduces unhindered. Now it is spreading across Europe, New Zealand, Canada and the US. There are perhaps three ways of looking at furniture. Some people see it as purely functional and useful, and don't bother themselves with aesthetics. Others see it as essential to civilized living and concern themselves with design and how the furniture will look in a room. In other words, function combined with aesthetics, and yet others see furniture as a form of art. The border itself between Mexico and United States is fraught with a mix of urban and desert terrain and spans over 1,900 miles. Both the uninhabited areas of the border and urban areas are where the most drug trafficking and illegal crossings take place. Crime is prevalent in urban cities like El Paso, Texas and San Diego, California. It is difficult to tell whether the speaker approves of Hemingway's lifestyle or not. He was famously macho and spent a lot of time hunting wild animals, going to wars and getting into fights. All these things got into his books, and the speaker thinks that this is not necessarily a good thing as it means that too many people prefer to read about his life than read his books. Charter schools have governing bodies whose job is to support and guide a single school. The board is also responsible for holding school staff accountable for results and has the authority to fire the principal or director, other administrators and teachers if they fail to advance the school's mission. The emergence of IT has created new products, processes and distribution systems. New products include the computer, the internet and digital TV. New processes include internet banking, automated inventory control and automated teller machines, and new distribution systems include cable and satellite TV. 450 million people today face water shortages, but people in rich countries are wasting water. We are used to turning on the tap and having fresh running water whenever we want it. Each person needs 80 liters of water per day for health and hygiene. The average American uses 500 liters per day. Business school admissions officers said the new drive to attract younger students was in part the result of a realization that they had inadvertently limited their applicant pool by requiring several years' work experience. Talented students who might otherwise have gone to business school instead opted for a law or policy degree because they were intimidated by the expectation of work experience. As to the Industrial Revolution, one cannot dispute today the fact that it has succeeded in inaugurating in a number of countries a level of mass prosperity which was undreamt of in the days preceding the Industrial Revolution. But, on the immediate impact of the Industrial Revolution, there were substantial divergences among writers. A thesis is a claim that you can argue for or against. It should be something that you can present persuasively and clearly in the scope of your paper, so keep in mind the page count. If possible, your thesis should also be somewhat original. Australia has one of the world's most important mining industries. It is a major exporter of coal, iron ore, gold, and copper, and is self-sufficient in all minerals bar petroleum. Since the first discoveries the coal in 1798, mineral production has risen every year in the decade to 1992 it doubled.